Hey guys, this is going to be my February wrap-up where I go through all of the books that I read in February and tell you the star rating that I gave them on Goodreads. And it's also going to be my March TBR where I go through the books that I'm planning to read in March. I managed to read 9 books this month, which I think is amazing. I was not expecting to read that many, and I don't really know how that happened. A couple were school books, but I think the Mortal Instruments being 2 of these books had a lot to do with it too. But here are those 9 books. First book I read this month I actually finished on February 1st, so the vast majority of it was actually read in January, but it was Pet in the Dark by Rachel Higginson, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I have said before, she wrote the Star-Crossed series, which is some of my favorite books, but I was kind of just neutral towards this one more than anything. Like, I enjoyed it, but I also had I didn't enjoy the romance in it so much, which was pretty much the vast majority of the story, and that kind of made me not really enjoy it quite as much. The second book I read this month was City of Fallen Angels by Cassandra Clare, which is the 4th Mortal Instruments book. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was my favorite in the series up to this point. I was absolutely in love with it, and just I'm gonna save what else I have to say for the next one that's also on this list, but loved this book. The book I read this month was How to Start a Blog That People Will Read by Mike Omar, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars, and I'm kind of rethinking that. I feel like I maybe should have given it like 2. It is how to start a blog, but it's really like basic information. It was really repetitive, and I just feel like there are better books out there. It's not like it's a decent book, and it gives you good information if you're like completely unfamiliar with how to make a blog at all, but I just feel like there are better options. I read Candide by Voltaire for my humanities class. I had no idea what to expect going into this, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was very amusing and very interesting to look at and see what satire back then was like, and I really liked this book, which I wasn't expecting. And then I read The Host Illustrated Movie Companion by Mark Voss, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's a really good look at how The Host was made, if you're a fan of The Host, or how just movie making in general. I don't know if you'd really enjoy it since it's specific, but if you're like really into that stuff, then maybe. But I really liked seeing how they did different parts of the movie, and it was interesting, some of the stuff that they had to say. Then I read Silence by Natasha Preston. I read this because it was free for the Kindle. I only gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I really did not like it. It was just, it was sad because I could see the potential for it being so great, but it wasn't, which is why I gave it 2 stars instead of 1, because the potential was really there, and I really think that if like it had been edited more and rearranged, like rewritten more, it could have been really awesome, but sadly it wasn't. And then I read Endless by Amanda McGray, which I received for review from NetGalley, and I gave that 3 out of 5 stars. I really did like it. It's just that I had some problems with it, mostly the romance and the time travel, like how it works. I kind of sided with the villains a bit and thought that they were right, and so that kind of hurt reading it because I really wasn't rooting for the protagonist at all, and I wasn't a fan of how the romance was done, but I really liked how the friendships were done, so I liked it, but not a whole lot. And then I read City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare, the 5th Mortal Instruments book, which I also gave 5 out of 5 stars. I said that Fallen Angels was my favorite of the series when I read it, but this one became my favorite of the series. Like, I could rant about this book forever, so I'm going to try and keep it short, but I loved this book. I loved seeing the characters and how like they developed and the relationships developed in this book, and just I really need Heavenly Fire right now. But I can't believe that I'm actually caught up with this series, and now I have to wait for the 6th book to come out because I thought it was going to take me forever to get it through these books, and it took me a lot, like 4 months I think is what I figured it as being, but loved this book and can't wait for the 6th one. And then I read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley for my humanities class. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I wanted to like it going in, but I didn't think I would, just because of the whole concept of Frankenstein's monster. Like, I didn't think I would enjoy it, but I really did. And I talked about in my review about how, which I filmed just the other day, about how I found it so interesting, and the questions it raises very interesting, and so I really actually enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And that is all of the books that I read in February. Now we're going to go through the books that I plan to read in March. I usually start with my school books if I have any, since most of my literature classes read out of anthologies. I typically only have books from my humanities class. I only have one this month. We're starting a second one, but it doesn't look like we'll finish it until April, according to the syllabus. Like, April 2nd is when we finish it. We start it at the very end of March. But I'm just going to stick with this one that we're like going to finish in March, even if I read that other one faster and have it done or whatever. But it's The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels. I'm not entirely sure if we're reading this entire thing. We might just be reading parts of it. This is a really nice book, though. This book looks new, which I'm not used to from books that I bought in the bookstore, like the school bookstore. But I'm pretty sure I'm the first person to ever have this. But anyway, that's not the point. I've read this before for one of my history classes, and it's actually funny because I'm pretty sure we read, maybe not the whole thing, but we read like the vast majority of it in that history class, and we had to print it all off. And so it was just like papers, and then we have like a fancy book. And I feel like I've read this entire thing once, and parts of it at least once a semester. So you get really well acquainted with this in college. But we actually just read some of Marx and Engels in one of my other classes, I think last week. So that will be this month. Going to non-school books, I'm going to go to review books real fast. The book that I'm currently reading for review is The Subtle Beauty by Anne Hunter, which I downloaded for free for a review, and I'm almost done with it. I think I'm going to finish it tonight, so it'll be like the first book on my in my March wrap-up. But I don't really know if I'm probably going to get other books for review throughout the month, but I don't know what they are. So because I tend to like only have one review book for a month at a time, and then I read it, and then I get another one from different sites that I have. So that is the only one that I know of right now. Going into non-review books, there's one that I'm reading right now. I'm about halfway through Invisible by Cicely Ann Patterson, which is another book that I downloaded for free on my Kindle. And I'm reading that right now. It's about a girl who is partially deaf. She can hear with a hearing aid, and her dad died when she was pretty young, and I don't know, she has like a lot of emotional problems. She's moved around from school to school since her dad died and hasn't really made friends, doesn't feel like she belongs, and is kind of an outsider. So it's just all about that, kind of stereotypical, but I'm enjoying it so far. And then I'm going to go through 4 other books, since I typically have 5 books on my to read list, but I am reading 2 at the moment, so I'm going to stick with 3 or 4. I'm going to stick with 4. It's early in the morning. I'm filming this right after I woke up, so I can't think right now. No, this is going to be kind of hilarious, because these are the 2 like actual print books that I have this month. But Come Sit Stay by Arden Moore. I have had this book for like years now. I think I bought it in a pet store because the author actually used to have a podcast on dog training, and I used to listen to it, and so I saw that and I bought it, and I had never read it, and it's really short. It's like a picture book, kind of, maybe like more words than a picture book, but really simple book, so it probably won't take me that long to read. And then on my Kindle, I'm going to read The Paparazzi Project by Christina Springer, which is another book that I downloaded for free, and it has to do with celebrities, but I can't remember the actual like summary, but I downloaded it because books dealing with celebrities can be interesting. And then I'm going to read Why Do Dogs Do That by Kim Campbell Thornton, which is a book that I bought at the same time of this, and haven't read, and it'll be really fast. And obviously because I'm reading these 2 books, I'll probably go through these books faster because these are really short. So hopefully I'll be able to read more than my TBR. The last book on my TBR is another book that I downloaded for free, but I don't have Wi-Fi on my Kindle at school, so it's on the computer and I can't look at it on my Kindle. I'll put it on my Kindle when I go home in a week for spring break. But I can't remember the exact title or the author's name, but it is a book that, from what I can remember from the synopsis, is about twins, 2 twin girls who are Amish and have their Rumspringa, and it's about that, which should be interesting. I wish I could remember the title, but I can't, and I should have looked it up. But like I said, it's early in the morning and I'm tired and haven't been thinking. So yeah, that is all for my February wrap up and March TBR, and I will see you guys later. Bye.